So good morning. Uh, so I was continuing with the qualities and standards. So today also I'll continue with the same thing because today I think we'll be completing that particular topic. It's a very vast topic, and definitely a few questions will be asked in all the sections. Okay, so under this topic, so better we learn this topic in detail. So coming back to where I think I stopped. I had covered standardization. I think so. That's what I was talking about, right? Standardization and standards. So last class I had talked about standards, and we came to know about different types of standardization and grading. Why grading needs to be done, and what are the purpose of doing grading, and what are the problems which are there in standardization and grading. So all these things we had studied. Today, we will talk something about the Export Inspection Council. It's called as EIC, Export Inspection Council. So it's a government of India body. As the name itself tells, it's relating to export and import. So anything what you want to export commodities or import commodity from other countries, right? You need to have the standards. So when I'm saying export import, basically the traders who are from foreign countries who are trading with India, or Indian people trading in foreign commodities. Okay, so how do they trade? So it's very important that we need to have this Export Quality Control and Inspection Act, which is there. 1963 Act is there. So that is the apex regulatory thing which is there, which controls all the exports and imports related activities, especially in terms of controlling quality control and inspections. So all your export related quality control and inspection is done under the provisions of this Act of 1963. So this Export Inspection Council is set up under that Act. It's a government of India body, which is an advisory body to the central government, which is empowered under the Act to notify commodities which will be subject to quality control and or inspection prior to exports. So the main job or the main task of the CIC as an advisory body is to tell the government whenever government notifies the commodities which are suitable for exports, right? So there they will also mention the standards of quality. Okay, so what are the quality control measures which has been taken, and whether the sample size has been inspected properly or not. So what are the sample size which got inspected? So any findings in that, so any deviation. So all these things, okay. So basically it takes into consideration all the quality control related activities before the government notifies any commodities. So it is the job of EIC to look into the export related commodities which needs to be verified for testing, the passing the quality control tests, and various inspections which needs to be done at various process in order to make it a successful exportable quality commodities. So it establish standards of quality for such notified commodities. So it is not only doing quality control and inspection, but also it establishes standards. So standards, why you want to do establish standards? Because people who are willing to go for exports, or people who wants to manufacture or produce exportable quality goods, should know what is the standard for exports in India. So then only they can try to work backwards and see what are the precautionary steps they need to take in order to see that their quality products are exportable in nature. So for that, we need to understand what is the standards they are looking at. So that becomes very important. So whenever you enter into any transaction, right, first you need to know what is the requirement and what is the standards. So if they have any fixed any standards, then we need to see whether whatever our production system or production mechanism, what we are trying to adopt, whether that meets their standards or not. Or else it's simply waste of your money and time if you are manufacturing something keeping in mind the export, and then later on find that whatever the standard they are fixed under, whatever the standards under which you have manufactured the products or produced the products are not meeting the what the standards was fixed, then it's a waste of entire money and time. So the products will not be accepted, because unless and until you meet the requirements as per the norms laid out by the Export Inspection Council, you will not be able to clear that particular commodities for exports, because they have given the guidelines, they have set the standards, and they have notified, government has notified based on the advisory committee's report. That is, advisory committee is nothing but EIC is itself an advisory committee which works under the act. There is an act under which this council has been set up. So ultimately, in order to see that the things are drilled down into a proper manner, you need to understand the standards. So whatever you do, whether it is for exports or whether it's for domestic requirement, we need to understand the standards. So unless and until you understand the standards, don't put any efforts in order to manufacture or produce any commodities. So establishing standards becomes very important. So how do they establish standards? That is based on the needs and requirement of various countries. See, country-specific standards are there. Okay, so if you want to export some commodities, let us say to European countries. In European countries itself, different country has their own standards. So similarly, if you want to export to US, then US itself has a different standard. So it depends, okay, what type of commodity will be accepted in which country, and what is the standards you need to follow. It differs from country to country specific things. So there are a little bit of challenges here. But that's why going for an export is not an easy task. First, you need to do a lot of homework before thinking of going for exports. It's not just whatever you manufacture can be exported. Okay, it's not like that. It doesn't work like that. So in order to export, you need to understand the trade relationship, what India has with other countries, and also the specifications what the foreign countries have in order to import any commodity from any countries. So that's also there. Some regional restrictions will be there, and sometimes in terms of quality will be there. They will be asking, if it is coming from India, we need to have this test done. If it is coming from some other country, we need to have another 3 conditions. So they will be putting the conditions. So trade terms will be there. That needs to be looked into. So it's not just whatever you manufacture and which is made ready for sale in India is something which will be accepted in exports also. Okay, it's not like that. So we need to be very specific, and we need to look into those areas as per this. So that role will be initiated by this Export Inspection Council. So they will be setting the standards, and that only those companies which pass through those standards, right, they only can be export that notified commodities. They specify the types of quality control and inspection to be applied to such commodities. So once the standards are specified, definitely they insist on the bare minimum requirements what a product should have in terms of quality, and how the inspection needs to be done. So at what stages inspection needs to be done, or how much of the inspection needs to be test driven, so that it meets the requirements. See, these are all the various things which comes afterwards. Okay, so one thing what we need to understand is we have a dedicated authority called as Export Inspection Council, which main role is to help government in notifying the commodities. So for that purpose, they have their own way of defining the standards, quality control, and inspections. So these are the things which you need to know. Okay, don't get into too much of this subject. Okay, so just understand there is a body which looks after exports. Okay, so whenever the government wants to notify, it will notify based on that. So let us now see what are the various services which will be given by this Export Inspection Council. So first one is certification of quality. Okay, especially of food items for exports through installation of food safety measurement system in the food processing units as per international standards. So food is the main thing. Okay, So where the Western countries or other importing countries are more concerned with is the food related things, because that is what you intake, right? It goes into your body. So we need to be very careful when we are establishing any standards for those things. So this particular EIC, which is only taking lead for this exportation of commodities, so they take into consideration the certification of qualities. See why these are all important, because when you are going for trading in commodities, right? So there may be some people who will be trading from outside India, and they want physical, okay, transfer of commodities once the deal is settled through the exchange. So they want a physical movement of commodities from India to foreign countries. Okay, they will be willing. See, there are two types of transaction which happens in market. One is there is no physical delivery of goods, and the other one is physical delivery of goods. Or is that? So both type of possibilities are there in exchanges. So if physical delivery is not there, means you will be only just doing the future transactions based on fixing the price. Okay, so it's like trading on that price you are doing. You are not actually buying physically that particular commodity. You are only trying to fix a price for the commodity so that the farmers can get a reasonable price in the market for their produce. So, but they don't take physical delivery of goods after the when the deal gets settled. So after 3 months or 2 months, depending upon the contract and all those things. But there are deals where it happens on physical settlement. That means whatever the commodity the seller had told, you should deliver that commodity physically to the buyer on the date of settlement of the transactions. So that will come to know when we study about warehouse concepts and all those things. So there it becomes very important here. So certification is a must. So tomorrow we have entered into a deal, we have finalized the deal, everything has gone through. But ultimately at the end, if I ask for certification, if you say, no, we did not have certification, I was not aware of all these things, then it doesn't, it will be a very black mark on the exchange itself. Because why people are trusting exchange? Because exchange are organized system, so it's a standardized type of things which operates in exchange. That's what we have an impression. So when you say that the associations which are getting registered under commodity exchanges, they are recognized, means what is that recognition you are talking about then, if you are not able to be transparent in your approach? So here the problem arises. Okay, so here we need to be very careful. So the question here, what the exchanges poses is, at the time of writing of the contracts by any farmers, right, they ensure that these things are taken care of by the contract writer, especially in terms of whether it meets the international standard, whether what are the certifications which are there, so whether he has a valid licenses. So all these things are the matter of concern, okay, where exchange needs to look into, okay, before allowing any person to write a contract and enter into a future contracts. So tomorrow it's not just money which matters here, it's whole of the reputation of the exchange which is mattering. So if more of the shareholder, more of the people who are traders in the market think that this particular market is not doing the checks, or it doesn't have a proper base of the customers, and the trades are not getting negotiated properly, then definitely they will not be interested to trade in future also. So that's it. So the survival there. That's why I told most of the markets are there, but people are not aware of this because they are not ensuring these type of transparency system and quality based system of trading. So unless and until you do this quality based and system based, or the service part, whatever you are doing is up to the mark, right, then no one will be interested to come and trade in your platforms. So that's again the one of the functions or the scope which needs to be covered by any exchanges, wherein they encourage only such type of buyers and sellers, okay, who are really interested parties with committed to trade. So that's very important. So one is certification of quality. The second one is issue of different types of certifications such as health, authenticity, etc., to exporter under various product schemes for exports. Then issue of certification of origin to exporters under various preferential tariff schemes for export products. So it's very important that certification of origin is required. So certification is origin shows that at what place or which place that particular product was manufactured or produced. So that certification of origin is a very important thing. So sometimes it happens you may be buying it from some other place and you will be putting your name and you will be exporting from your place. So that then certification of origin should be from the initial place where that particular product or the commodity arised. Okay, so that's also matters. Okay, certification of origin is required for all export related documentations. Then training and technical assistance to industries in installation of quality and safety managements, and recognition of inspection agencies as per ISO and laboratories as per ISO 17025, and utilizing them for export inspection and testing. So these are all the service which EIC does. So it has its own dedicated team which will be coming and working and testing, doing testing and all those things. And they also appoint some agencies which will be doing the inspections on behalf of them. So, and they also give a lot of training assistance will be given for technical assistance to the industries for installation of quality and safety management measures and all those things. So this is in nutshell the EIC, the role of EIC. Okay, then after that we study something called as BIS. Very important. Bismarck, I think you might have studied or you might have seen on some of the products they put these Bismarcks. So Bismarck is Bureau of Industrial Standards. BIS stands for Bureau of Indian Standards, not Industrial Standard. Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS. So it's called as Bismarck. So it's a blue color triangle mark. I think most of the time you can see that. So blue color triangle on the middle there is a red dot like that. So that standards are very much used. And this was formed in 1985, and its headquarters is in Manak Bhavan and in Delhi. And the Bureau of Industrial Standards is a national standard body of index under body of India under aegis of Ministry of Consumer Affairs. So it comes under Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. It is established by the Bureau of Industrial Standard Act 1986. So these are all legislative bodies which have been formed under an Act of Parliament. Okay, so this has come out in 1986. So 1986 was the official year when the Bureau of Industrial Standard Act was framed. The government recognized the role of standardizing in giving industries in competitive efficiency and quality production. So for that purpose, it started. The Indian Standard Institution was therefore set up in 1947 as a registered society under the Government of India resolution. So what are the objectives of this Bureau of Industrial Standards? One is harmonious development of standardization, marking, and quality certification. So what do you mean by harmonizing? Harmonizing means doing according to some set of norms which are internationally accepted. So that is what harmonizing means. So what this Bureau of Indian Standard does, they compare various needs and requirements and various standards which are prevailing across the world. And they try to establish that the standards, whatever the quality, they need to approve it, right? It contains all the, it contains all the, at least all the major requirements what is there in the international standards. So that is the first objective. It harmonizes the standardization, marking, and quality certification. So it says it lays out the common grounds or principles for framing all these things, three things: standardization, marking, and quality certifications. Next, it provides new thrust to standardization and quality control. It also evolves a national strategy for according recognitions to standard and integrating them with growth and development of production and exports. So that's the main objectives which are there with Bureau of Industrial Standards. And if you go and read what is the mission of this vision and mission of statement of this Bureau of Industrial Standard, the vision reads like this: it's to satisfy the customer needs for quality of goods and services and to provide efficiency, timely services. to work and act in such a way that each task performed and as individuals or as corporate entity lead to excellence and enhance the credibility and image of the organization. Okay, so it's working from both the principle. One is from the consumer side; it's also helping consumers to do it the better way, and also from the organization side. So ultimately, it needs to take care of their management also, right? Individuals who are working with that organization. So it creates an image for the organization, and also it tries to work for the efficiency of the markets, that is final consumers. So what is the mission? Mission is to harmonious development of standardization, marking and quality, to provide new thrust of standardization and quality control, to have a national strategy for recognition of standards and integrating them with growth and development of production and exports. So these are the various things which are there in the vision and mission statements. So, which are the areas under which this particular BIS standards are applicable? One is information technology. The second one is civil engineering. The third is mechanical. Fourth, chemical, medical equipment and hospital planning, management and systems, electrotechnical, metallurgy, petroleum, coal and related products, food and agriculture. So, all these areas are covered under BIS standards. So what are the objectives? Objective is to safeguard public health. So that's a very important thing. What the this particular objective under which it works. So it tries to safeguard the public health. So that's naturally what the consumer-oriented approach is all about when we talk about the standardization and quality and all those things. So that is to safeguard public health. The second one is to promote consumer confidence. See, many times it happens because blindly we believe in some products and we try to go and buy it. So we don't know what is the, by looking at the basic things like the expiry date, manufacturing dates and all those things, we'll not be able to, our statutory warning which has been written on the packets and all those things, still will not be able to find out what exactly is there within that product. Example, I think there was some news about this Nestle products, okay, where they are told more than 60% of Nestle products are not standardized products. So that's what the news which was flowing around last 2 days back. So even we had seen in 2017 or 15, I think so, where there was a big hangama about Maggi. So where the Maggi products used lead contents which were very dangerous to kids. So see, these things are happening and they banned that product. So as a common man, how do you know all these things? You go by advertisement. So whatever the people say in advertisement, you try to go, and these people are very these people are very what do you call, very intelligent. They bring all these sports stars, film stars and all these things, and through them they will market the products. So these film stars and sports stars, they take the money and they are least bothered about even the risk of their fans. So I am believing some X-person personality film as I'm a fan of him and I'm buying it because my hero is telling that I should buy that product, or my cricketer or some sports person is telling you drink this product, I am also drinking. So I am trusting that since I'm a fan of him, whatever he says, I think, see, you are playing with the life of your fan. So before you accept the advertisement, it becomes responsibility that whether you know about that product. Simply for money's purpose, if you are accepting and if you are ditching your fans, then that's I don't think you desire to be a respected personality. So see, I should not tomorrow say that I didn't know about this. See, it's not that. Because just because you are advertising, people are buying it. So at least you need to take some efforts to check with your internal sources whether that product, what they are trying to use me as a brand ambassador, is it meeting that particular criteria or not. Okay, whether it's a standard product, whether it's a good quality product, something, yes, you should do it. Simply you cannot for money just accept money and start and going and giving advertisement for those people and killing your fans. So Maggie was same thing. Maggie, many people developed some later stage of problems, especially with eyesight and all those things, because of lead contents which was exceeding the normal allowed limits. So that control, I think, told you not quality control. So they say that certain amount of lead is allowable. So that is the control limits. They will say this percentage of control limits of lead is available, is allowable in the product. But Maggie used to have it more than that. So that's the time when Maggie faced total ban for all their products, and later on they came back again with modifications and all those things. So therefore, yesterday I was seeing this advertisement, some news coverage which came in Vayan News, where they were telling that 60% of Nestle's products, what you are using is not trustable products. Okay, so this is happening across world. So Nestle, we don't know, because we build, we trust the brand. So if the company is doing such things, then it's very dangerous. They have told Kit Kat, all these things are not good. Even the Maggie is also, be careful when you are using Maggie. That's what the advertisement was, the news coverage was talking about. So be careful whenever you are eating outside food. Okay, so whether it's anything. So try to avoid eating more of junk foods and outside foods, and go for more of homemade foods. Okay, so don't occasionally, if you are eating nothing, regularly don't do it. Okay, so that is to safeguard public health is a very important thing which is there. So commodities are something which is not only for trade. See, don't keep in mind the aspect of making money. So money should be made judiciously. Okay, that's a very important thing. So trading happens in market and you earn money out of it. But end of the day, money doesn't bring you satisfaction unless you do your job in a correct way. So you earn money in a correct way. Righteous way is very important. Earning money in a righteous way is very important. So that is one thing. So it should benefit whatever the trade you do or whatever the transaction you do, right? It should benefit both the parties. So the second one is to promote consumer confidence. Yes, of course, the end user should be beneficial out of your product. So it should meet his requirement and try to gauge his confidence level to the next level. That's very important. To protect consumers from unsanitary, unhygienic, mislanding, and adulterated food. So that's a very important objective of this BIS. BIS stands for protecting the overall quality aspects of the customers by giving them the total satisfaction. So that's the very important objectives, three very important objectives which the BIS standards work for. Then what are the mandatory certifications under BIS? Mandatory means there has been 100%. You need to get this BIS standards for all these commodities, like cement is there, household electrical goods is there, batteries, food and related products, automobile, steel products, standard stainless steel products, electrical transformers, electrical motors, capacitors. See, these are all the commodities for which you need to have mandatory BIS standards. So that needs to be put on that. So what are the various activities which the BIS performs? The first activity is training and testing. So they give a lot of training programs, conduct a lot of training programs relating to quality control, quality inspections, quality testings, quality management, and all those things. So any industries who are interested to enroll their quality people, right? Quality staff people. They can enroll these people for training activities, and BIS comes and or they invite you for their place, and you need to go and attend the training system where they say what are the expectation of this BIS standards and how to meet that standards, and for that what all the procedures you need to follow. All these things training will be given. So that's very important. Standards formulation, that's a very important thing, because since they are the statutory body which has been set up under a parliamentary act, so their standards formulation will be for the total industry as such. So they cover for all the industries across the different geographical locations within the country, and they come up with the standardization standards depending upon the needs and requirement of that particular business, especially in that particular region. So that's the overall holistic approach what they follow when we talk about fixing the standards. So standards formulation, how to arrive at a standard, what are the contents of a standard, how the standard should be there. So all this fixing of standards, measuring the standards, see everything. Standard formulation means it starts from basic looking into the manufacturing process or the procuring process or whatever it is. So because I need to get involved with all these actions, unless and until I know the entire end-to-end process, standards cannot be fixed. So the formulation of standards involves looking at the detailed process of the entire sectors where I want to fix the standards for, and accordingly the standards will be arrived based on various consultation process and various international standard process and all, looking at all those documentations and everything. So that is one thing. Next is product certification. So ultimately the end product which comes out from that particular industry needs to be verified, or they need to be checked in order to be certified, saying that they have met all the conditions and the product is ready to go for usage in the market and all those things. So that means this certification gives some trust, okay, in the minds of the consumers to believe in that particular product, that it ensures all the quality requirement and needs whatever is required. So that particular thing is that. So once you put this BIS standard, the consumers can blindly go and purchase. That's thinking that everything has been vision. So certification has been given by the recognized body after they have done all this verification. So this is purely trust which works out here. So even everything can be questioned. So today Maggi we are buying because they are giving all the food safety standards, everything you see, all those things printed on their cover. So that is the basis on which we buy it, because there are some agencies which has tested it, and that license number they have put, the logo of that licensing authority is also used. So that is the only trust. We don't know what is there inside. Okay, so we buy based on the trust. So certification ensures that I am trusting you people. That is the certifying agency. I'm trusting the food and safety standard. I'm buying the Maggi. So who knows what is inside? We don't know. Anything happens only when you file a case, then you will come to know, and these people will wake up and see. In India, there are a lot of things. I don't want to tell all these things, okay, but you know, okay, see, trust should be there not from only one side. It should be there from each and every level. But since the corruption had crept into all the departments of the government, right? So many times we see that without going and without they coming and verifying our factory places, premises, right? They certify us. Okay, so every year renewal, they do it without coming and inspecting, doing the inspection. They should do the inspection every year, see whether there is any change in process or whether they are using something wrong things in the business or what. See, surprise visits, all these things should be done. But today, everything is happening on money. So no one is scared for their roles and responsibilities. So if I'm being put as in charge for something, right, I'm only worried about whether I get my commission part or whether I get the money share or whatever it is. So I'm least bothered about the healthy safety measures and all those things. So this should come from each one of us. Okay, so we can't correct the society which has gone like that. So at least our next generation society, like people who tomorrow when you graduate and go out, at least you people should deliver it, okay? Because others, we can't do anything. So those people who are already there for 20 years, 25 years in the system, right? We can't go and change them. But at least people who are now getting graduated need to understand this and try to do it. So education is very important. That's why in India, education is a very important tool. And this is where we need to check the corruption practices. Okay, that's one thing. Then hallmarking is also there. Hallmark is again a mark which will be embossed on that particular product, saying that it meets all the quality standards. So hallmarking is a quality standard. System certification. So that is the process, whatever the process you are going in, right? Even that can be certified. So through BIS standards, you can certify even the system also, system of working. Okay. So next is how do they formulate standards? Okay, standard formulation. Indian Standards Institute (ISI) is there, which is the primary body which formulates the standards, and it was established in 1947. Okay, with the objective of formalizing development of standardization activities in India, and so this particular Indian Standard Institute, right, institution, right. So they are helping the Bureau of Industrial Standards. Okay, so in order to certify the products, so harmonization with it harmonizes with international standards and new and emerging technology areas and environmental concern and other national priorities, regulatory requirement and consumer needs. So these are the things which are covered under this Indian Standard institutions. So it was set up in 1947, and the Bureau of Industrial Standards are part of that in the Indian Standard Institute. So product certification, the product certification scheme of BIS aims at providing third-party guarantee of quality, safety, and reliable of products to the consumers or customers, you can call it as. So that's what gold standard, BIS standards and all we say, right? Gold standards for quality and all those things. Presence of ISI certification mark known as standard mark on a product is an assurance of conformity to the specification. So they meet all the specification. For that, they put that ISI marks. Assured surprise inspection and testing of samples drawn both from the market and factory. So this is there, but this you can manage with money in India. So we don't find any strict officer doing this job in a proper way. So I think these are all the things which needs to be addressed in order to climb ourselves into the ease of doing business ranking. But these are all corruptions. Okay, a lot of corruptions are there in all these stages. So we need to still come out of this. Thanks to the digital thing, which is making more and more process system driven, wherein identification, monitoring, and checking, testing, all those things are going now online. So there are less possibility of these people to get involved with various corruption practices. So I think going forward, the strict measures what the government is taking, and also the next level of new level of employees who are joining the organization with dedicated and full efforted approach, right? I think corruption can be reduced in India. Okay, it cannot be totally done with. Okay, so corruption continues till the human wants and needs are there, right? So corruption keeps on going. But only thing is, at least we can control it. We can bring it to some minimum level, so that we don't suffer too much because of corruption. So all these years, India got its credibility ranking down across the globe because of corruption only. So even though we have very good resources, even though we have very good talented people, but still we are lagging behind because of the corrupt practices which are there, which has creeped into all the systems. Okay, all systems. Education corrupted, hospital corrupted, police corrupted, everyone is corrupted. Okay, so it's very difficult to change the system. So change will happen only if people like you who get educated and who comes out of your universities and tries to make that the system can be clean from your side. So you practice. So don't worry about what the other people do. So you lead a humble life. You lead a well-deserved life. Okay, without doing any corruption practices. Okay, so you may be forced to go into for corruption. Okay, but still, if you have that quality of integrity, okay, if you have that quality of your own self-respect and all those things, right, then definitely you will not indulge into corruption. See, corruption, if you are earning money through corruption, one or the other day that money will go out. Okay, twice that money will go out. Okay, so better not to get into that. Whatever you are happy with, whatever you are satisfied with, try to be satisfied with only those things. So don't get in going beyond that. So that's not advisable. So That's then like that we can correct corruption. Okay, unless and until there cannot be any legislation, you cannot bring a rule or a law. There are too many laws which are there already. Okay, so there are n number of acts which are there which deals with corruption and all those things. But end of the day, that act is also getting corrupted now. So corruption cannot be solved through any act. Okay, so only they catch hold of out of 100 people, they'll catch on 5-10 people and they'll put them behind bar, but 90 people get escaped because of the again corrupt money which they will use in order to escape, bribe the judges or bribe the advocates or bribe the police, and they come out of that. So it happens. So it's nowhere you can correct the corruption system through an act or a legislation. So better it is through our individual responsibility and we thinking in terms of building the nation, right? That's so that ideology which if it creeps into our mind, then we can end the corruption. So these are the things. Okay, hallmarking. Hallmarking is the accurate determination and official recording of the proportionate content of precious metal in precious metal articles. So normally this precious metal like gold, silver, platinum and all the diamonds and all these things have hallmark. Hallmarks are thus official marks used in many countries as a guarantee of purity or fineness of precious metal articles. So 24 carat, 22 carat hallmark gold, they will say, right? So that's all nothing but your purity of the gold which is there. So you are certifying the purity of the gold. To protect the public against adulteration, the obligate manufacturing to maintain legal standards of fineness. In India, at present, two precious metals, namely gold and silvers, have been bought under the purview of hallmarking. The BIS hallmarking scheme has been aligned with international criteria of hallmarking. As per the scheme, license is granted to the jewelers by BIS under hallmarking scheme. The BIS certified jewelers can get the jewelry hallmarked from any of the BIS recognized assing and hallmarking centers. So BIS hallmarking scheme for gold jewelry was launched in April 2000 and for silver it was in October 2005. So that is about hallmarking, and they do all this laboratory testing, everything and all those things. So Indian regulatory agencies, so there are many regulatory agencies in India. So that's what I was telling, right? Name anything, you have act for everything in India. But when we say that whether you follow that act procedures or whatever the guidelines given, nothing is practiced. Okay, only thing is we deviate everything. So the biggest problem in India is implementation failures. So we have everything, but nothing is implemented properly. Okay, so but some things have been implemented, but monitoring is not happening. So that's where we are ending up with. So that's the problem. So what are the various regulatory authorities are like Directorate General of Health Services there, Ministry of Food Processing Industry is there, Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion is there, Directorate of Marketing and Inspection is there, where they give this AG mark and all those things, right? Agriculture marketing. And the Department of Agriculture and Cooperation is there, which gives plant quarantines and all those things. Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying is there. Department of Legal Metrology is there, which is basically called as Weights and Measurements Act. Bureau of Energy Efficiency is there for all your energy conservation related things. Then we have Chief Controller of Explosive, which gives certifications for explosives to carry that explosives or not. So whether you can manufacture those explosives in your home or not. So that comes under the Bureau of Chief Controller of Explosives are there. Directorate General of Mines is there for mine safeties and all those things. Ministry of Road Transport is there. A Central Pollution and Control Board, that is a very important body which is there for all your industrial body, which should not where they manufacture the product should not be of such kind which can pollute the environment. So you see these many things are there in order to ensure quality and standards in India. But at the end of the day, how many are functioning properly or how many are up to the mark is something which is again questionable. So from the market point of view, commodity markets, quality becomes a very important procedural matters. Okay, so whenever we are saying we are trying to manufacture quality related products. Why that quality is required? Because as a agriculture commodity person, I'm just sitting in some exchange, or I'm sitting in front of my laptop and I'm trading. So I'm just going through your contracts, whatever you are writing, and I'll just read that contracts, and I'll be placing orders for the contracts over the exchange. So it becomes the responsibility of the exchange to ensure that that particular commodity, what has been agreed upon, is what the final negotiation or the settlement will happen. So end of the day, it becomes the responsibility of the exchange to ensure smooth and fair trade to happen. So keeping these things in mind, definitely there will be a very important possibility that tomorrow, who knows, that things may not go properly when we talk about the quality specifications. So there may be a complaint which may be raised against the exchange, or the buyers can go to filing a defamation suit against you in the court of law. So invoking the legal provisions against that particular exchange. See, these are all when once you go for too much of these type of legal related issues, right? Then even SEBI will also pitch in, because that is the regulatory authority. And if buyers goes and complains to SEBI saying that the deal was done, but the exchange did not interfere properly in order to make the trade successful, because of what was told in the trade and what finally got settled is something which is not acceptable, then definitely there will be a environment which will be created in that particular exchange, where people may lose confidence in that particular exchange itself. So in the later part, this may lead to the collapse of the exchanges. So many exchanges, we have seen this happening. So a professionally learned exchange today, people from any part of the globe can enter into any part of contracts today. So provided if they give all the KYC document and fulfill all the normal application process, what is involved in order to open a demat account and start trading. So if you are able to become a trader, then seeing these type of complications which happens, especially in terms of the quality of the commodities or the quality of the contracts which is entering into, and all those things, that becomes very important to ensure that these standards of qualities in the products are adhered to. So be it a domestic exchange or when you're operating through the foreign platforms, so it becomes very important that the quality, whatever you are committed, should be delivered if it is a physical transfer. Or based on quality itself, I am trying to fix the price. So sometimes it happens like that also. So the standardized contracts I am entering into depending upon the price, what is there. So the role of the exchange is very important when it comes to the question of quality. And they need to ensure that the buyer, okay, who is sitting somewhere and entering into contract, should be the confidence of the buyer should be safeguarded or protected by the exchanges. So the exchanges play a very important role in especially identifying, especially in case of commodity markets. This doesn't arise in case of stock markets, because there is nothing called as quality there. It's only about the backdrop of the industries, where the fundamental analysis will throw a lot of inputs on the backup of the company, the corporate image, all those things you can verify through your fundamentals, directors report, audit reports, and all those things. But how do you check the quality of the product? So you can't go and if you are sitting somewhere in northern part of India, you cannot come to the farmer's field who is sitting in somewhere in South India, and you cannot go and do the inspection and all those things. So I totally believe, or I totally trust the exchanges. So whatever the exchanges are showing, or whatever the exchange platforms are offering me in the terms of contract, I'm purely depending on those things. So tomorrow, if the price risk is there, okay, I am ready to bear. Quality risk I cannot bear, right? Because I thought that this was a quality which you will be offering, but later on I see that there is a completely different quality. So I cannot see, I cannot touch, I cannot feel. So those things are not there here. So it becomes very important from the exchange perspective to have the selection of the buyers, or the buyers when he wants to negotiate with a contract, we need to ensure that the commodities what is supposed to trade through a contract fulfills all the necessary quality requirements or quality standards, or they have taken care of all the licenses. He has a valid licenses. So for all the process, all the certifications for his final product. So that's become a very important, let us say, like a KYC document for selecting those consumers. Sorry, those buyers. Sorry, so those sellers. Okay, from writing a contract in the exchange. So it becomes a very important role for the exchanges to play here. So this is something which they need to ensure in order to remain more competitive in the exchange market. So ultimately the responsibility will be on the exchange itself. So, and the next class when we talk about warehousing, right, that's a very important concept which is there in commodity market, especially when some person wants to take physical delivery of the goods. So as I told, contract can be taken in two different forms. One is you can just trade on the price of the contract, or you can also trade on the taking the physical ownership or physical delivery of the contracts also. So physical delivery of the contracts will be done through a recognized warehouse. So there is a warehousing system, and there is a process which has been defined as to how the warehousing system should act, okay, when it comes to the question of commodity exchanges. So that part we'll study in the next class. Okay, so next class I'll be talking something about warehousing concept in commodity markets. Okay, so hope this concept of quality inspections, controlling, management, assurance, standards, everything was clear. So it's a very important topic. You'll get some questions on this. Okay, so please do read this topic. Fine. So if you have any questions, you can ask me now, or you can just put it in the chat box. So I will reply to you, or else we'll close for the day. So next class I will talk about warehousing concept in the commodity markets. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. You can just type there, okay? You can type in the chat box if you have any questions. Okay, so you don't have any questions. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your participation. So next class I'll be talking on a different topic called as warehousing. Thank you.